Cody? Stop it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Are it okay?
It's fine. I'm just trying to figure out what's in her mouth.
Gourd.
It's just some cardboard. Nothing like some fiber in your life, you know?
Little fiber.
Yep. Where? Yeah, you're choking on it.
Choking.
Choking on it. La-bee-da-boo-doo.
We're quiet. Usually we're like all nattery and stuff.
This is what she was chewing on. Yeah, no more for you.
No more for you.
Well, what do you want to talk about, Kev? What do you want to start this live? Oh, we are live. Oh, good.
Usually we like where there's something we're like chatting about, or
I'm saving all my hot takes for the podcast.
Okay.
When we officially start.
When we officially start, there will be hot takes.
Yes. Podkolzin is the fucking worst.
Best player in Russia.
I don't know if that's saying much.
No, not tonight.
I have a hot. Well, I don't think my take is hot. That's all.
Mediocre take from Kevin. Everybody listen in.
Mediocre take from Kevin.
Yep.
I don't even think it's mediocre.
A shitty take from Kevin, ladies and gentlemen.
Shitty take from Kevin.
I would say most of hits are that way. Oh,
hey,
that's a low blow.
That's not even fair.
All right, let's go.
All right, we are live. Gold. Canada goes for gold. That's what happens. Is Devin Levi, another shutout. Canada wins 4-0 over the Russians. Welcome to the Hockey Podcast, or as some say now in Alberta, aloha. You can follow us on Twitter at podcast_hockey.
Aloha means delicious.
Does it?
Yeah, according to the Skip the Dishes ad.
Yes. That's very
I was thinking that was more of a dig at our politicians. I don't know if that's what Kevin was
it totally is. It totally is.
Okay.
He's trying to block my rhythm. Follow us at podcast_hockey. You can also like us on Facebook. We are on Facebook Live, so you can follow us there as well. Facebook, as well as subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe there. We are currently at Theron Fleury. No, was that right? Yes, Theron Fleury, the number of subscribers right now. So
let's stay away from the controversial people. Alex Burrows.
We are at the Alex Burrows.
How dare you?
Amount of subscribers.
Theron Fleury is a way better representation of our podcast than a dirty fucking rat.
No. Oh my God. Oh no.
God.
Already in trouble. Okay. Anyway, Subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. The audio will be out shortly after this live episode. Canada beats Russia. They will go play the winner of the U.S. and Finland. And the gold medal, a fun fact, is Canada and Finland have never played in a gold medal game in the World Juniors. So if that happens.
Well, that's considering they've been the ones that have won like the majority of the last few tournaments. That's kind of crazy.
But we'll see what happens. That will be going on shortly. We also got some Canucks news that we need to talk about. We've got some Flames news we need to talk about.
Leafs news we need to talk about.
We do have some Leaf news we need to talk about, actually. And so we'll get into all of that as well. But I'd like to, and Carl, the cat, is going to chime in. Gord, the dog, is probably going to come in and say hello. Maybe others will come in as well. Who knows? Anyway, it's kind of... So I want to start with probably the bigger story of the game. Well, actually, no. What did you think of this game?
Canada just came out, started dominating the forecheck. I'm kicking myself because I didn't really watch the first period close enough in terms of watching how Canada was attacking the Russians. But from what I did see, it looked like they were trying to attack the right side of the Russian defense, where they had one right shot defenseman and was it two or three on the whole roster. So I think they did a good job on the forecheck just overall, though, and the Russians couldn't handle it. And Canada got another early goal, one that we didn't know was a goal until the horn sounded. But they basically took control of the game from puck drop and moved on, and Russia couldn't come back. They had a couple chances here or there, but every time they seemed to get momentum, something happened to stop it.
Yeah, I think this was the solidification of our questions overall about Canada, whether or not they're able to rise up to the challenge against a tough opponent. And I thought that they played a full 60 minutes here today, and they did the little things right. Good on Alex Newhook for coming back after injury, after being off the game, and he came out with a fire lit under his ass. And that first shift that he had was phenomenal. And yeah, we didn't even know that puck went in the net. It sounded like it hit the bar and out, but it was actually the back bar, pretty much an out. And I was very impressed with Canada overall. Defense played well. Carl loves everything that happened in this game, as you can hear. I was very impressed with the McMichael Pelche cousin line, and I want to give praise to Pelche for being on that line. I think him being on that line with such high talent players shows the amount of – oh, my God. Sorry, this cat is throwing me off. Shows the fact that the coaching staff really has trust in Pelche, and it's a good sign for Flames fans for things to come for Pelche.
Yeah, he's been out. He has been up and down the lineup for sure. I thought I agree with you. I thought this was a great performance from Canada, up and down, complete control of the game. I think one of the best plays, Russian on the breakaway, Drysdale makes on the power late in that the first Podkolzin double minor. Drysdale comes back and makes a play, and then Perfetti scores. I think that at that point I was like, this game is over, but and it was, but but complete, like, Scott Rintoul pointed this out, and I was just going to put this in here. Here, let me make sure that I can find this here. Here, hang on. All right, let me see if you can see this. Oh, that's not good. Okay, but basically Scott Rintoul just tweeted out that Basically, that the tweet is, instead of talking about the flaws of the Canadian game, maybe the fact of the matter is this is a great Canadian team, and we've talked a lot about the flaws of this Canadian team. Is this a great Canadian team that we're not giving enough credit to?
Right now, they proved that tonight that they are a good to great Canadian team. They showed us that they were able to rise up to the challenge with a formidable opponent in Russia. And before, the reason why they're being questioned is because, once again, they weren't doing the little things right. They were having a hard time being able to help the defense transition out of the zone, have a good forecheck, be good away from the puck when they don't have the puck. And tonight, yes, that showed one game out of the 4 game or out of the 5 games that they played that they were able to do that. And in a short tournament like this, it's that's what you need to do, and that's what you need to show. And that right now, yes, I say that they deserve to be in the gold medal game, and good on them. They like I said, they deserve it.
We had another lurker in the background.
Yeah. I agree with what Devin said in terms of focusing on. I think we've tried to be a little more constructive, and I know Tyler in our chat tried to talk to us about that. I think it's fine to be a little constructive and to point out what they weren't doing right in the previous games, but what they fixed a lot of those issues tonight. They were transitioning well. They were able to again, the forecheck was an absolute beast. They were supporting the puck carrier a lot better than they have in previous games, and that was the big one for me, especially going up against Russia and then going into the gold medal game against either the States or Finland. You need to be able to support the puck carrier, because if you leave them out on an island, you're putting yourself in a position to fail. So Canada put themselves in a position to succeed. They capitalized on the chances that they got, and they just suffocated Russia. So they deserve all the praise for how they played tonight.
I think another thing is that both teams came out with a fire under their ass. They came out flying, and it was a fast-paced game for the first 5 minutes. And I personally thought that Russia had just a hair bit of a jump on the Canadians in that first 5 minutes, but you could see the transition, you can see the play develop, and the ice tilt just a bit more towards the Canadians once that kind of pace decided to slow down a little bit. And that was to me, that shows that they are being coached properly and that they're able to rise up to the challenge of a high pressure game of an opponent that they haven't faced before. Well, they faced them in the pre-tournament, but once again, that's coming from all the players who haven't played in a very long time. So it was more about a feeling out period. But this game, hats off to the Canadians. They played a hell of a game.
Now let's get to Russia. And let's talk about Askarov. I did tweet out that if you're Nashville and you looked at this game as a first-round pick, I deleted the tweet because I misspelled your, and it was just no point in me putting that in. But you're Nashville and you're looking at this game, and you're seeing the way that the first-round goaltender is reacting, and Ray Ferraro was all over this stick. Like, he was like, what the hell's going on with this stick? And then you see Devin Levi, a 7th-round pick, play with the poise that you're not scratching your head a little bit. Now, to be fair, because I think he hasn't had a great tournament, and I'm not going to blast the kid and says that his career is over. That's not what I'm saying. But either he was hurt, which I think could be a possibility, or there was an equipment issue, which is also another possibility, or there's just I know goalies are weird, but he's weird. He seems like there's just, I can't explain it, but sometimes like on the Cousins penalty shot, he was outstanding there. Like I was like, wow, that's why Nashville drafts this guy, right? He's positionally sound there. But like you watched him against other team and other games, he's like flopping all over the place. And I'm like, man, this could be fun, but like I could see how this could be really frustrating too. And I think in part, that's where Russia was kind of thrown off. His stick was going all over the place. He was grabbing other people's stick. It was a comedy of errors. And I think like, I'm not going to sit here and bash him, but it was frustrating.
Yeah, I get that. It's a big game. He got pulled in the gold medal game last year. And now he has another bad game this year in the semifinals, but he's still a top end prospect. And this is a short tournament. This is one game. The overall body of work that Askarov has like shows where he's at compared to other goaltenders, and why he went so high in the draft. The key right now is not to overreact. Remember how good Dustin Tokarski played for Team Canada? Remember how good Justin Pogge played for Team Canada? Where are those guys? They're not in the NHL. Even Glass as well. They chalked out a really good professional careers for themselves, but they're not the top end goaltenders. One game, one tournament doesn't make a prospect, and that's it's so hard, especially when this is the only time you really see him. See any of these a lot of these prospects, especially the Russians, the Swedes, the ones that are playing out over in Europe, and you don't see them very often. So you kind of overreact to what you see from them in this tournament. But I know unfortunately, he had an absolutely horrific game, and he got scored on. I think three out of the four that he let in were on the glove side. He couldn't hold on to his stick. It was a comedy of errors all over the place, and it was a bad game for Askarov. I know Nashville's not going to overreact to this, and go on from and understand that. But for me, the sooner they get him over to North America and working with their goaltending coach and working on calming his game down, because he's, as you said, Kev, he's all over the place. He's very excitable. He's not. He makes things look a lot more crazy than they should be. What has Devin Levi been doing so well this tournament? He's made things look easy. He's made things look calm. Askarov needs to work on that, because he's got the size, he's got the technical ability, he's got the positioning when he's on. He just needs to calm his game down.
If you look at his games in the KHL this year, 7 games, he has a .96 goals against average and a .962 save percentage. With one shutout, and out of the 7 games, he has 4 wins and 3 losses. I mean, that shows a lot towards this prospect. I apologize, guys, for our meowing cat in the background. But overall, yeah, this is nothing to overreact to. I agree with Sean. It's exactly what I was going to say. They need to bring him over as soon as possible from the KHL to the Preds organization, so that their goalie coach can really solidify and help him calm his game down, because it just I don't know if I'm overly critical with the KHL, but as soon as they can get him over here, they need to do that.
Yeah, that's fair. Kudos to you. Kudos to Devin for keeping his composure while the cat is meowing and keeping his concentration. That's quite a feat there.
Just pulling up Yeah, just pulling up Askarov on eliteprospects.com. It looks like his contract runs out after the end of the 21-22 season, so he's got one more year in Russia after this season, and then they'll be able to bring him over.
I'm not like, I mean, you are spending a first round pick, so I mean, there's probably you're probably a little concerned. I'm not saying you're dropping the guy, but it's once his game calmed down, I felt like Russia's game calmed down, and they were able to get some chances. But unfortunately, the game was over. Maybe they would have had a chance to get in if the goal counted, but it was probably a little bit too little, too late. But when Askarov is calm, I think that this game, the Russians seemed a little better.
Well, that's one of the things is when you have confidence in your goalie and you feel you feed off the energy of the goaltender, it can go a long way to helping teams come back from being down and building on leads and starting the game quick. And Canada has that confidence in Devin Levi, and unfortunately for a little bit there, Russia didn't have it with Askarov.
Would you have pulled him?
No, I don't think so. I didn't. It was a little bit of everything because some of the goals weren't great on him, but a lot of it was just the Russian defense could not handle the Canadian forecheck, and they just kept creating offense, kept creating chances, kept creating chaos in front of the net, and that was part of why he kept losing his stick, is because there was chaos in front of the net.
Yeah, no, you don't like you've run with him as far as you have with him right now. You don't pull him in these type of games, especially with his pedigree and how highly touted he is. You got to let him roll with it. Once again, it is a developmental tournament, and this builds character. This builds resiliency, and he will become a better goalie because he stayed in it. And it wasn't overall his fault. His glove side, it wasn't the best, and not saying anything against the Perfetti goal on the power play there, but that's one of the goals. That's one of the shots you got to have. Mm-hmm. So it's very unfortunate. He will be tested as an NHL goalie, and he will be developed as an NHL goalie. This tournament doesn't mean much as far as goalies go, because Kev, you said it best. Goalies are weird.
Goalies are weird. For sure.
Yeah. Who would have thought that Florida has, like, there's a really good chance that Florida is going to have both starting goaltenders in the gold medal game, one that they drafted in the first round and one that they drafted in the 7th round.
And they have an overpaid guy in the net now.
Talk about controversy. and just to double back on Kevin's comment there about how calm Devin Levi has helped Canada overall. Look at Carey Price. Look how his game is. His game is never panic. It's always calm, cool, and collective. He's always willing, ready for a. He's always ready, but it's always chill. He's always like, okay, well, it's fine. It's okay. I'll get the next one. Or whenever he comes down to play the puck, it seems lackadaisical, but it has a calming effect on coming from a defenseman. Whenever my goalie is doing that kind of thing and very not panicky, that puts me at ease somehow. It comes from the net out, as far as if your goalie is flopping all over the place, aka Karamo or a Mike Smith, it just doesn't bode well and doesn't sit well with the players, and that just creates animosity and uneasiness throughout the game. So Devin Levi, man, as of right now, he looks like a fucking player.
Yeah. The other thing I just wanted to quickly say before we get to the offside one, I did want to point out that one of the other things that we were a little critical about is Canada's lack of like they're getting goals, but they weren't the most creative. A couple of nice plays today. Zeri's pass to Byfield on a chance, I thought was a really nice play. That Perfetti shot, that was a good shot too. So they did show some creativity today, I thought, as well.
Well, I think they just stepped up their game. They rose to the occasion. And they, again, when you are supporting the puck carrier, that those creative plays are available a lot more. So it's I think it was just they stepped up their game and took it to another level, and hopefully that level stays at that level going into tomorrow.
And I do want to point out before we get to the offside that the McMichael goal, I want to praise. I want to praise Pelche on that. I thought his vision to one time that over to McMichael from Cousins, I thought that was phenomenal, and that just shows great poise and offensive skill and hockey sense overall. I'm very impressed with his game today. Once again, talking about him being on quote unquote my top line of the game really speaks volumes to this player and how he plays and how he's climbed the ranks and the trust of the coaching staff.
Super smart player, just a super smart player.
He knows his way around the front of the net. Like when he's around the net, he knows where to be, where his teammates are, and what the right play is, and when to be an absolute pest, and when to sort of lay off and find the soft spot. So that's something that the Flames fans should be very excited about.
Yeah.
Not to mention McMichael for Washington. He's a fucking player too, and that's something scary to watch out for over in the Eastern Conference in the not this year, but next year's Metropolitan Division. He'll imagine him with Kuznetsov going forward here. Oh man, he'll be danger.
And Holloway for Edmonton. I thought he played a really good game today too, and he's got some wheels. So you know, we don't always put Edmonton down, Graham. So let's get to, okay, it was 4-0, and then the power play happened, and Leaf prospect Amarov scores, and then all of a sudden Canada's challenging, and I'm like, what for what? And then it's for offside, which would happen 26 seconds before the actual goal. I get why you do it. I'm not blaming Canada. Of course, I'm not going to blame Canada for doing that, because obviously they're going to. Anyone would do that. That's part within the rules of the game. But I do agree with Ray Ferraro that I don't know how you create that rule, but if it's I don't like it. I get, but I mean, but the other side of this is I see both sides of this, because you got into the zone and you were able to dominate a play because the play was offside. But at the same time, this was so long ago. But the other side of this is that was so close. It was a close offside. I just, I mean, yes, we're cheering for Canada, but I didn't like it.
Well, there's the second one where it's like, the 4-minute double minor on Podkolzin, where really he got 4 minutes because was it Byram got he nicked? It's high stick. It's a high stick, but it's that 4 minutes because the other guy led, even though it could be the most innocuous high stick out there, right? It's the rules, and I said I think there has to be a time limit on how far back you can go. In terms of being able to challenge something. Yeah, it's the entry, but find a way to get it out. Like that's what it is. Like we played through missed calls like that all the time, and now we have to go through this. I said I agree. It was the right call. I thought it was I got a little confused on it, but after reviewing it, and it's the right call, but again, it's just going back 20, 30 seconds for the offside doesn't make sense to me. But that's what the rules are, and they got it right in terms of what the rules are.
The big question is whether or not you want to keep it to the officials on the ice to make the right call, or if you want to make it as correct, quote unquote, as possible. It's a hard line to draw because you do have that. Oh my God, you do have that that time limit in between when the team enters the offensive zone compared to when the goal was scored. I agree with Sean. There has to be a time limit on it. I would say within 10 to 15 seconds would be ideal overall.
Yeah. And especially like if like especially something like that where it just I don't know. I mean, I just didn't. Yeah, and I agree with you. The Podkolzin thing, like I do agree with you. That's kind of was a little bit.
It is what it is.
It's been in the game for the past 5 to 8 years now.
Yeah.
If you draw blood, you're going to get a double minor. And that's the way it is. And it's very similar to the LTIR. If you have over $10 million in cap in LTIR, you're going to get that relief. It's in the game, so deal with it.
Oh, cap circumvention. Oh. Anyway, that's what Devin does, right? It's just.
He knows he's wrong, but he just wants to poke the bear.
Come on, stop it! God, it's what brothers do, really. But you know what? Seriously, it is a part of the fucking rules. It's a part of the CBA. Deal with it. Just like a high stick, whether or not, or if someone gets clipped and they start bleeding, it's a double minor.
But Mercer chopped Podkolzin and got away with that too.
Oh yeah.
That's up to the ref's discretion at that point.
Yeah, that was tough. I looked at that and I know it wasn't intentional, but that would have hurt. That was more my thing. It's like, just right in the mouth and then like the chin neck area, like, that would hurt.
We'll get to that. Is there anything about the game specifically that you want to discuss?
Go for it, Dev.
I just want to say hats off to Levi for getting 500. For getting 56 straight saves overall. He's been absolutely amazing. And I know we've already talked about him once already, but he has shown his calm, cool, collective side. He's positionally sound, and he's done an amazing job for Canada. And Florida has 2 great prospects in him and Spencer Knight going forward. And yes, they have Bobrovsky for 7 more years. So good luck to the GM and the owner to try and figure out exactly where to go from here.
Yeah.
I'd say I want to applaud the Russians' top line, Kuznetsov, Rob, and Podkolzin. I think were the only line that really showed up today for Russia for the most part. Any good chance that Russia had was almost always that line, and they've kind of been them, and then the Ponomarev. Whoa, that was yes, him. That line was also good for Russia throughout this tournament, but tonight it was literally just Kuznetsov, Amarov, and Podkolzin out there for Russia, and the rest of them were not good enough.
And I do want to say, as much as I want to shit on Podkolzin, I thought he had a great game. And him being named top player of the game, and the fact that he was emotional, that shows a lot of character. So the Canucks fans, you guys out there, you got a hell of a player there, and you got a guy who fucking cares. about winning, and that to me that shows a lot of heart and character. Let alone he has a hell of a lot of skill. So I was questioning him at the beginning of the tournament, and the past 2 games I thought that he came out to play, and he definitely proved not proved me wrong, but he answered my questions and what I was hoping to see from him. So you got a hell of a player there.
The only other thing I want to say is my shutout, of course, for Levi as well. He's tied Justin Pogge for shutouts in a tournament with 3. So
yeah, Pogge, Habib Bulin, Kari Lehtinen, Andrei Vasilevsky, and then Denis Klopotnov.
Kudos to him.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. The training camp first on ice sessions today. The news yesterday we recorded before was so I did split up the Flames and Canucks storylines, and they're out on YouTube. You can listen to them as well. But I think the big story, or kind of the big Flames Canucks story, is Travis Hamonic gets the PTO with the Vancouver Canucks. That will probably, it's going to be the Hoffman thing where he's going to sign a contract. He's on 7-day quarantine. What are your thoughts? What do we expect from Travis Hamonic?
It's a fantastic ad for depth reasonings for the Canucks. I think they did a good job upgrading the top 4. Going into this, adding Nate Schmidt and adding Nate Schmidt is a huge ad. But the fact is they were a little thin on the bottom pair when without Hamonic. They're looking at relying on Juolevi, hoping that Juolevi and or Rathbone step up. And then having Jordy Ben, who was a healthy scratch for a lot of last year, as well as Jalen Chatfield and Brogan Rafferty, all fighting for spots. Travis Hamonic is a really good ad for depth-wise, whether you play him with one of the younger left shot guys coming up, Juolevi or a Rathbone on the third pair, or, which is what it might happen, based off of what they had lines today, which could change tomorrow and could change in 3 days and could change in 4 days. They could go with Hughes and Hamonic, and then which allows them to play Tyler Myers with Juolevi or Rathbone, and then looks like they've got Edler and Schmidt as a pair. So either way, you're looking the depth wise, the Canucks pairs look a lot better with Hamonic than without him.
You know, it's good to have a little less of a player than Chris Tanev and Travis Hamonic. I really liked him as a Flame. You guys do have a good player there overall, but I think that he's a Tanev, just a step down from Tanev, and that's as far as picking up another good solid defenseman that I can play in your second line to third line defense that he eats up a whole bunch of penalty kill minutes. He'll block everything. He's a heart and souler. So that's a good pickup for Vancouver overall. And I wouldn't be surprised if you do see him every once in a while with Quinn Hughes, but I think that he'll be more effective down, just a hair down in the lineup.
Yeah.
So the way Travis Green runs his lines and runs his deep pairs more so, it's definitely situational. He played Quinn Hughes with Tyler Myers in certain situations last year. He played Edler and Tanev together in certain situations last year. So I totally expect to see it, once this gets official, and if it gets official, that going into the season that it'll be the same way. Hughes and Myers will be an option at times. Hughes and Hamonic will be an option at times. And go from there. And again, the flexibility and the depth, the addition for depth and the stability for the bottom pair, I really like it because like I said, it just adds that stability that the Canucks were sorely lacking going in without him.
Yeah, and he's a warrior. He's a guy that he's a heart and soul guy. He gets in front of everything. Yeah, I mean, the foot speed isn't there like it was, but he's tough as nails. And I actually think that the Canucks fans will start to really appreciate him. I think that they'll grow to like Travis Hamonic as a person too. I think that will be a nice thing as well.
Speaking of people that are gonna, Canucks fans are gonna take a shine to real quickly, Nate Schmidt. That guy is a beauty. Like you'll ask him a question and he'll go off on a 5-minute talk about that, what this, that, and the other thing, but have this big grin on his face and talking about and making fun of himself. Like he gets it. He like every time he's talked to the media since this trade, I've just been like, okay, yeah, all right, calm down, Sean. Like he's good. You see him on the ice, he's good as he was in Vegas, and then you add that character, and he's going to be an absolute fan favorite real quick.
I just want to also point out, I'm just typing as you're. I just want to say this. Look, he has an open invite. Whenever you're available, Nate Schmidt, come on. We'll fit right in.
We'll try our best.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, he's been entertaining for sure, and the defense will be fun this year. We'll have some personality. So one of the themes that we had with the Canucks storyline going through was who was going to play where, and we were all asking about Louis Eriksson, and we were like, nope, Louis Eriksson's not going to play in the top 6. Everyone's like, and people are like, are you sure? Well, lo and behold, who's playing with Bo Horvat today? Mr. Dale's Hoglander. Did we forget about Mr. Hoglander? It was Travis Green. And he talked today that this is something he's given some serious thought to. And I kind of like it. I like it. He's got some swagger there. And I just quite frankly need to say, from Bo Horvat's perspective, for the love of God, this guy deserves to play with wingers that have some scoring ability. So I think this is a great solution, and I'm looking forward to it. And I think that will be a great fit.
Yeah, it could be a very good fit. And if Hoglander's there and you're pushing Jake Virtanen down, and it looks, and they had him skating with Sutter and Mott. That's a fun line as well. A good energy third line, and then they looks like right now, again, it could change tomorrow. It could change in 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, whatever. It's the first skate of camp, and lines change all the time. But if the Canucks go into it with the Lotto line as your number 1 line, then you've got Pearson, Horvat, and Hoglander is your number 2, and then your bottom 6 is Mott, Sutter, Virtanen, and then Roussel, Gaudette, and McEwen. That's got some promise. That's got some legs and some size and some speed that can make things a little bit more difficult for opposing teams. One thing that Hoglander does have for him is he does have warm legs. He has played a half a season in Sweden. He's not coming in after not playing for 3 months to more for a lot of these players. So it's going to be that's his inside edge. Hopefully, I hope he can take it and run with it, because if that's the case, and then you potentially have Podkolzin coming later in the season, if everything goes right, if not going into next season, then the Canucks are starting to build like some really fun depth on the wings.
Yeah, if Hoglander and Podkolzin decide to be NHLers and they have the ability to do that, then yeah, I mean they're going to be top 6. It looks like top 6 players anyway. So they definitely have that firepower up there, with Podkolzin being a good 200-foot player that is a playmaker, and then Hoglander, who can, I mean, both can bury it, but Hoglander more so a sniper. So I as a Flames fan, I'm not looking forward to that.
Hoglander versus Tkachuk in the lacrosse goal bowl.
So,
Yeah.
The other thing, we should also mention this. Jim Benning was on the second intermission on the radio, on the TSN radio network, and he stated that Podkolzin, the intention is to sign him by the 30th of April and have him right into the lineup as soon as possible. Reasonable?
Really depends on where Vancouver's at.
And where SKA as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into that. Bringing in a highly touted prospect can be good or bad. Just at the end of the year, just ask Sven Berchi.
Yeah, if everything goes well and they do get to add him at the end of the year, that's fantastic. If not, they will get him for the 21-22 season, and that's just as. I'm just happy. I'll just be happy to get him over here and get him out of the KHL and starting to get some get used to the North American game and everything like that. So, yeah, I'll be pleasantly surprised if they get him for this year.
I feel like we're being very politically correct when we're talking about the developmental skills of the KHL here with Askarov and Podkolzin, and Hoglander's not in the KHL, but it just kind of shows the amount of talent that the NHL does bring and does have as far as the developmental side of developing players that are drafted and who are in the system.
Yeah, it's true. That's a whole other. That's probably a longer conversation that I think would be an interesting one to examine. What's going on over there?
Yeah, with Askarov, I think it's just getting him into to being in control of his development. With Podkolzin, it's that as well, but he's also not getting the ice time at SKA, which is really frustrating for Canucks fans who there's like two or three ones that like Chris Faber and others that go up, like get up and watch him play and see what he does. And we're seeing some of it during this tournament, how smart he plays, how unselfish he plays, how he understands the game. And you can see that if he gets the time and is allowed to grow into a role, a role higher up in the lineup, he's going to thrive. He's got the hockey sense to do so. So it's just, that's where it's frustrating for Canucks fans, and it's just like we want him to develop properly because top 10 pick and all that, but it's just same thing for him. It's just you feel for him because it doesn't seem like he's getting the right chances out in Russia.
Who do you compare him to? And the reason I'm asking is Craig Button compared him today to Chris Kunitz. And I didn't agree with that necessarily, but although I will admit Craig Button is smarter than I am, I don't see that. I see someone a bit more intense.
There's been a lot, and this isn't me, and I think it's a bit of a, it's totally his peak. If he hits his ceiling, it's this, and there's been a lot of Mark Stone comparisons thrown out there for Podkolzin in the way he plays the game. He's a winger. He's defensively sound. He's smart. He plays in front of the net very well. But that's really if he absolutely hits his ceiling. I don't know if he'll get there. I like the stylistic comparison for sure. But I hate using those comparisons because it's so easy for people to just look at, oh, you compared him to Wayne Gretzky. Oh my gosh. Like, no. Stylistically, he does fit like a Mark Stone, feel like a Mark Stone.
I also see him as a not as physical as this guy I'm going to say, but Ryan Getzlaf. I see him as kind of a similar comparison to him. Obviously, he's not a center, but he can play center if he wants to. Big guy, big frame, and he'll fill into his frame when it becomes more when it becomes more pro in the NHL. So that's my comparison. But as far as a Wayne comparison, I don't think Mark Stone is far off.
I was thinking even like a term stylistically that not again. I hear what you're saying because there was someone that used Quinn Hughes to Bobby Orr, and I think they meant stylistically, but they were like, "Oh my gosh, what the hell are you doing to this kid?"
Well, and coming from like I'm sure that came from a Vancouver based honk,
No,
you will.
It was a scout, or it wasn't a fan. It was I don't even remember who it was, but it was someone that knew Quinn Hughes. It was either it was a scout or it was someone in
yeah. Either
like
way, it's just
whenever somebody compares a prospect to a player, that's just stylistically, it's not the fact that they're going to be that good of a fucking player, unless you have a McDavid, Crosby, Ovechkin kind of player in front of you. That's the only time that you're going to hear that, but those don't come around too often. So anybody who hears that, it has nothing to do with their potential. It has to do with the style of play the style of game that they play, and they might be able to get to a similar peak, but they won't be that similar player.
Another guy that came to mind was peak Andrew Ladd. I know you look at him now like, oh, what are you talking about, Sean? But you go back through what his stats were at when he was playing at his peak. He had a couple 60-point seasons. He had a 70-point season, but he was always hovering around that 40 to 50 for about about 6-8 years. Like he was in that 40, 50, 60-point range, and if that's and being a responsible physical player, and that if that's what Podkolzin is, that's fantastic. That's a great ad for the Canucks, especially if as a complementary player to the Petterssons, to the Hugheses, and working with someone like a Bo Horvat, JT Miller type, and you're setting yourself up for success with that with Podkolzin if he turns out to be that.
I was kind of thinking a little bit of Ryan O'Reilly too, a little bit, like in terms of stylistically. Not like
again,
it's about the offensive skill with the defensive prowess and being able to have both sides and can play both sides of the puck. That's absolutely massive.
He also is comparable to Gord the dog.
Speaking of her. She's not being as noisy as Carl. Once again, I apologize for Carl being such a fucking asshole.
Anything else with the Canucks today? I guess the other thing is I forgot I put it in the comments. The shared affiliation with the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah. Was it's this Springfield, Charlotte, and why am I drawing a blank on the third one? But there's 3 AHL teams that are they are not playing this season. So Springfield is a St. Louis affiliate in the AHL, and that they've worked a deal with Utica, the Canucks affiliate, to play their prospects there. So the Canucks, it's gonna be that'll be interesting goaltending wise for me, because they've got Joel Hofer. Linking everything back to the World Juniors. The gold medal winning goaltender for the Canadian team last year, Joel Hofer, is will be playing for them this year, and so the Canucks won't necessarily need to sign another AHL goalie, but they've also still got Arthur Seelovs, who they want to keep in North America this year. They have to make a decision on Mikey DiPietro. They've got G. Keeley, but it'll be interesting to see that, plus the addition of some extra bodies for Utica, so they don't have to necessarily sign AHL players.
Yeah, that was I forgot about that.
Yeah, when I found out, when I was also looking at what the Springfield's center depth looked like, because the Canucks and Utica don't necessarily have the best center depth right now, and they've got some decent wingers that they need to be trying to develop. Cole Lind, Jonah Gadjevich, William Lockwood. Depending on what does happen with Hoglander, does he stick? Does he go down to the AHL? Because just because he's getting a look with Horvat and Pearson now doesn't mean he's guaranteed to be there to start the season or even to end the season there. So, I want to see some talent up the middle to help them grow. So it'll be very interesting to watch how that plays out, because you now have two teams trying to make sure that their prospects get taken care of.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Flames. We on our training camp storyline, we talked about no, we are not putting Gio and Tanev together. That's like two old men. You'll have to have crates and carts and wheelchairs to get them out. And lo and behold, who's the first pair together in the on ice session? Gio and Tanev. They obviously didn't listen to the podcast, but I think that the reason Jeff Ward said that the reason they did that is because everyone else has kind of played together, and Gio and Tanev, they wanted to just get familiar together. But it doesn't sound like this will be the pairing when the season starts on January 14th, Devin.
No, I listen, looking at these different lines here and these different Iginla to McDonald groupings, if you will, I see it a bit different as far as like these are going to be the lines. For all we know, it definitely could be, but I highly doubt it. So as far as the McDonald grouping, I'm looking at the forwards. You got Gaudreau, Monahan, Levo, Tkachuk. Did I say Lindholm?
Lindholm, Tkachuk, and Mangiapane.
Nope. Lindholm is with Tkachuk and wow.
It was okay. I'm going to find the lines. Pat Steinberg had them, but I'm going off of my memory is correct. It was Monahan, Gaudreau, and Simone together today. It was Lindholm, Tkachuk, and Mangiapane together today. Backlund was with Bennett and someone.
I have completely different lines, so I don't know which one to go off. I'm going off of Ryan Pikes.
Like there was a couple things that came out. There was like who was on each ice time and on the Iginla squad and on the McDonald squad.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
And then there was the actual lines. So
the biggest thing is, okay, either way, I'm looking at, okay, this is going off of Ryan Pike, what he set up as the McDonald and Iginla. On Iginla, you have Mangiapane, Backlund, Bennett, Lucic, Ryan, and Dubé. Those are like kind of the NHLer forwards. Everybody else is on the McDonald line. So you got Gaudreau, Monahan, Levo, Tkachuk, Lindholm, Simon, Ronaldo, Nordstrom. And to me, the majority of the forwards that are going to be playing on the NHL team or have a chance at the NHL roster on the McDonald. But as far as your kind of veteran defensemen, you have Gio and Tanev with Mackey, Petrovic, Lerby, and Stone. That to me, that reaches to me that Mackey needs to learn from Gio and Tanev, kind of understand how they do things, how they roll out their line, or how they do how they prepare for games or prepare for practices and stuff like that. And then on the other side, you have Hannafin, Anderson, Valimaki, Nesterov, and Yellowson, and Tucker Pullman's brother, I forget his first name. Colton, thank you. And to me, that shows that is kind of the you have the Hannafin, Anderson, Valimaki. That's more of a younger group over there, but still a NHL defenseman, defensive team. That defenseman that will make the team. And then you have Markstrom, Zagadulin, Sparks on the Iginla, and McDonald's you have Riddick and Deming. And I think having Zagadulin with Markstrom, once again, it's about development. I know they're only going to get about a week together, all these players, when it comes to Mackey, Gio, and Tanev, to kind of learn from them, and Markstrom with Zagadulin. I see some sort of logic behind doing these ice times the way that it is, and I hope that these are the actual groupings that are here, because obviously Kevin has something a bit different. But
you're right. I was wrong.
I hear that a lot, Kevin. I understand. I hear that from Sean all the time, so it's okay. It's fine. That's just kind of like the flow that I see with these groupings.
What I'll say is Wes Gilbertson tweeted out earlier that Jeff Ward said that today's pairing of Gio and Tanev was more about special teams work, just get them acquainted and playing together for the first time. They'll likely be the top penalty kill pairing going into this season. And he expects that Anderson will skate with Gio as a pairing going into the season regular strength and 5-on-5. So I think everything can change day to day, especially this early in camp, even in a short camp, even though it is, we are only 9 days away from the Canucks first game and 10 days away from the Flames first game. A lot can change. But based off of that, it looks like the Flames are planning to go into their they're going into the season with a top 6 of Gio and Rasmussen, Anderson,
Rasmussen. Who's
Rasmussen? Wow, that was a good one. That was a nice slip up. Gio and Anderson. Looks like Hanifin and Tanev will be a pair, at least right now. And then it looks like they're gonna give Nestorov a look on the right side with Valimaki getting the other spot in that top 6. So I think that makes the most sense right now. But depending on who they decided to have on their taxi squad and everything, that could what that bottom pair specifically looks like could change throughout the year.
Yeah.
The one thing, I was listening to the interview of Fan 960 with Tree Living this morning, and Tree Living was talking about how interested he was in Nestorov. So I wouldn't be surprised if he is part of that 6-7 defensive pairing or defenseman going into the season. He does have NHL experience with the Montreal Canadiens. He was the captain of the Olympic team for the Russian team. They weren't allowed to be called Russia because of their doping
Olympic
scandal.
Athletes from Russia.
That's exactly it. Yes. And so he was the captain of that team, and that, to me, that speaks volumes for the type of character that he is and the type of person he is, and what he'll bring to the dressing room. So I don't see him being outside too much within the starting lineup of whatever's going to happen on the 12th or 13th. And I also, a couple other things that I noticed and that I picked up on from True Living's interview this morning was the fact that there's going to be no massive cuts until basically the day before the Flames play their first game against Winnipeg, and whether or not Johnny and Monty are going to be split up, if they're going to have Tkachuk and Lindholm together, and to me that kind of fuels the fire for me, and makes me even more excited to see what's going to happen here within the first, let's say, 5 to 10 games of the regular season. Whether or not Tkachuk, Lindholm, and Johnny are going to be on the same line, how much of a force they're going to be. Well, and that's speculation on my part, but I don't know. I'm excited to see how Gaudreau and Monahan are going to be without each other, because we haven't seen that much, and we saw a little bit of it last year. Not too much time apart from each other, and I think that if they have enough time to develop some sort of chemistry with another two players on a different line, it will solidify to me who they are as a player and how they will be a part of the Flames going forward, and who is potentially expendable. because I know that there's a lot of people out there who don't want to talk about the potential for a Gaudreau trade, but it's. I feel like not the writing's on the wall, but you have to think about it. You have to talk about it because of the contract structure for Gaudreau after this offseason. He does have a 5-team trade list that he can give to upper management and ask them that, listen, these are my only 5 teams that I can trade to. So he can't help but think about that going forward either.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that my one thing that made me happy was Lindholm at center. I think at the very least, they're open to having, like, I know that that's not forever, but at least they started there, and it's at least part of the conversation.
You have to take a look at it, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I take away from that.
That being said, Devin hit on something that is going to be really fun to watch on the 11th, 12th, and even into the 13th next week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, depending on when the teams play. The amount of cuts and the amount of waivers and everything that's going to happen on especially the 11th and 12th is going to be absolutely ridiculous because of the short camp and no exhibition games. They're going to want to play as many game type situations, have sort of inter squad games where you go through the whole game day routine as much as possible. I know Travis Reed talks about having 4 of those throughout, and the Canucks brass again talked about keeping as many players in camp till the bitter end as possible because of that. So come the Monday and the Tuesday before the season starts, the amount of waivers that are going to and roster transactions that are going to happen for sent down to the AHL as well as to get players onto the taxi squads is going to be absolutely crazy. I think what will be really, really intriguing will be how many if there'll be any claims and everything like that, because I think there's going to be some very interesting players that get cut in this situation that are just happen to be a little bit younger and waiver eligible. So there could be some trades as well because of that. Like, they don't want to lose said player for nothing, and next thing you know, they're working a trade. So I'm really looking forward to what Monday and Tuesday look like next week.
Yeah, it's going to be completely different from what we know of training camps. Once again, I've talked about this before as far as trade deadline. Sure, there'll be a NHL trade deadline, but I'm sure there's going to be a deadline for certain GMs of when they want to make a trade, because if they are going to be making trades with teams from Canada to the United States and vice versa, there's going to be that quarantine period that they need to. I'm sorry?
That has been waived. They will not have to do that official quarantine.
It's just a 7-day, right?
Yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a 7-day quarantine of that does make a massive difference. That's
true.
3 to 4 game trade period of whether or not what's going to happen. So I believe that, yes, there's going to be a NHL trade deadline, but I feel like GMs are going to make their own trade deadline to make sure that player is going to be able to integrate into the system and with the players and make sure that they are going to make a big impact. And I guess on the other end of that is, when are the bottom tier teams going to want to start trading away some of their assets for picks or prospects or whatever, when that period is going to be? Because, with the 56 game schedule, you got to assume that if you get off to a shitty 10 game start, you got to start thinking about that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's and then you also got the expansion draft to think about as well. And I do think,
Oh, what a great year to be alive and be a hockey fan. My God, this could be great.
Got a comment from Sean. Gio and Ras, please.
It sounds like he wants Giordano and Ras to be on a pairing together. And I don't think that that's a unreasonable thing to ask for. They are very. They know each other very well. They played together decently well, and which means that leaves up Tanev to be with Hanifin or Valimaki. And depending on whether or not you think Valimaki is going to be a top 4 defenseman by the end of the year, or you think that Hanifin would benefit from having that stability with Tanev as a defensive partner to get him to that next level that everybody thinks that he could potentially get to. It's a great point, Sean. Thanks for commenting on that.
Yeah. Anything else with the Flames? Markstrom's fitting in well. Very happy. Looks like that's going seamlessly well.
Sounds like. Hold on. Since you talked about that once again with that Tree Living interview, Tree Living was very impressed with Markstrom's leadership skills and his ability to command a room and to solidify himself as a number 1 goalie, just not even playing, just his demeanor and how he brings himself and how he is able to conduct himself in front of other people and important people nonetheless. So I'm very happy to hear the things that have been said about him so far. I was saying this to one of my buddies today. It still doesn't feel real that we have a number 1 goalie in our midst here. I'm very cautiously optimistic about what Markstrom will bring to the Calgary Flames, and hopefully he is not the answer to our problems or quote unquote prayers, but it still doesn't seem. It still seems too good to be true as of right now.
Sure. We'll see what happens. I think he's going to fit great with the Flames. I really do.
Red light Markstrom's going to look real good.
Stop it.
Once he leaves fucking Vancouver, man, the amount of people that shit on him on his way out, along with Tanev.
I expect him to be very, very good for the Flames in terms of solidifying the goaltending position. So it's going to be a very tough 10 games between the Canucks and Flames with him in net.
That's very kind of you to say. I'm happy that the truth actually came out of your lips for once.
Yeah. I just like I said, I give shit, but I'll also tell you honestly what I think. So,
well, who knows what is shit and what's fucking honesty with you? For God's sakes, the amount of stuff that comes out of your lips and your mouth.
Oh, brothers! One Leaf thing I did want to talk about was one of the lines that the Leafs set out, and it was Matthews, Marner, Thornton. I put Matthew. I'll hide that. Fix that there. But I'm going to have the rotten take. I like it. I really do. I think that I know someone here is going to say that he can't skate with the 2, but I think he's going to bring a bit of maturity there. I still think he has the ability to provide some offense. And I think it'll be a bit of a spark. And I mean, that's not permanent forever, but if I'm a Leaf fan, I'm not going to sit here and I don't think it hurts.
It's worth a look. I think it's very much worth a look. It's, I do question whether or not he can keep up with those 2. But I do think it's worth a look. Just like it's early on in camp, like you have to take a look at all these options you have. Jimmy Vesey's in the Leafs top 6 as well, right? They're taking a look at all these options. So Nick Robertson's not even in the top 12. So they're definitely going to give Nick Robertson a look at some point in one of those top 9 lines, the top 3 lines, the top 9. So they're gonna give other players looks, but it's definitely worth a shot, because if you can get if you can have someone like Marner who can drive the play, Matthews in his shot, and Thornton feeding both of them, if that works, then that's a deadly line.
Okay, going. I'll give you right in the middle. All right, I love it. I love the idea of it, and yeah, Thornton. He's probably one of the best generational playmakers that we have in the game right now. And he will be able to feed Matthews and Marner in spots that they probably have not been able to excel at as of right now. But I'm going to take the take that, if a defensive zone draw comes up, these three players are not coming out. Let me put it that way. If it's an offensive zone draw, I could definitely see these three players coming out. I could definitely see Thornton, Matthews, Marner being thrown out there and them creating offense. And there will be, mark my words, there will be a moment where whoever is calling the game is going to be Thornton to Marner's and Matthews, or from Marner to Thornton to Matthews. It will happen. And there's a lot of haters out there, and I'm happy that Sean isn't one of them as of right now. I'm expecting that to change. I don't expect that to be a life or a year-long thing, because he loves shitting on people. So I like the idea of it. I only see it in offensive zone situations, though. I don't see it in defensive zone or neutral zone, potentially neutral zone, but definitely not defensive zone draws.
Anything else with the Leafs that we wanted to talk about?
Yes.
I was about to say, looking at their defense pairings, they've got Riley with Brody, and I think that's a good start. But Travis Dermott's looking on his way out right now, being not in the top, what could potentially be the bottom pair. So it's be very I'm going to be watching that closely to see what exactly they decide to do with that bottom pair.
Yep.
Was that where you were going there, Dev?
That's why I want you to stick to your goddamn lane. These are my Leafs we're talking about here. Shut up, for the love of God. No, Sean's right. That's a little bit concerning. I'm really high on Dermott. I hope that he is able to stick with the Leafs and that he finds a lane, and be able to crack this lineup. But yeah, that is concerning. Maybe there's a trade out there. Who the hell knows what's happening? If Dermott isn't playing, we like the Leafs should look at a potential trade for that player, for maybe a more so a depth forward, or even a depth defenseman, or even a prospect. I feel like he is projecting he's been trending in the right direction. As far as development for the past couple of years, he's a puck moving defenseman. He makes smart plays with the puck, and he's able to. He's not one to force a play. Multiple times I've seen him in the curl back. If he doesn't see what something that he likes, go behind the net, regroup, and collect himself and collect the line as a whole. So it is concerning. I'm a big Dermott fan, so that's why it's concerning for me. But who knows if there's going to be a trade available or what's going to happen? Because Sean's right. It's he said this earlier. It's a quote unquote long camp. But it's only a week long, and there's a lot of things that could change between today starting of training camp compared to a week from today. And like I said, Nick Robertson as well. I don't see him not being a part of this either taxi squad or being a part of this team. There's no way that the Leafs aren't going to take a look at him and aren't going to have him part of let's say 20% of the games at least, just to see what they have there, because he does have a hell of a shot. And I was super happy and thrilled to watch him on the his first game and his first couple shifts, he was shooting from everywhere, even though it wasn't a good percentage. But he was showing the Leafs what he had, because that's all that's what he has. That's what he brings to the table. He has an NHL. He does have an NHL shot. He reminds me very much of Brock Besser in that sense, but not quite there with his defensive play and his. That's pretty much all he has going for him right now. So he does need to develop a little bit more. But Dermott and Robertson is going to be the two players I'll be watching for the Leafs going forward.
The other thing I looked at is that third line, that potential third line could be an absolute, like, just pesty beast of a line with Mikheyev, Kerfoot, and Hyman. And that could be very, very tough to play against if they can get that top six combinations to work. But they've got other options available. So I don't think we're seeing the end of any sort of shuffling around at Leafs camp. I think you could make an argument, like, based off of how they probably did the lines based off how they did their line rushes. So the fourth D pair was Sandin and Dermott, but that could Sandin and Dermott versus Lettinen and Bogosian. Like, which pair would you want to have as your third pair? Like, I think you could play it based off of who you're playing and what game it is. It also depends on how many players the Leafs actually carry on their actual roster, because remember what counts towards the cap is the 23-man or less roster. Then they can have as many as 5 skaters and 1 goalie on the taxi squad. So that's going to save teams like Vancouver and Toronto for carrying a full 23-man squad and getting under the cap a little bit more. Although with it sounds like Hamonic's only going to sign a 1-year, $1 million contract, and then once Ferland goes on the LTIR, they'll have a little bit more room and be able to carry the full 23. But the Leafs are in a little tighter spot because they just where they're at. So, but it could. I think we're going to see a lot of rotating in and out of lines and rosters and everything throughout this season. Get used to knowing that the waiver rules, and understanding that after once a player is waived, they have and they clear, they've got about, I think, cumulative 30 days to be called back up and not have to go through waivers, or get sent back down without having to go through waivers. So there's ways around not having to waive the same player over and over and over again to get them in and out of the taxi squad.
Yeah, Sean brings up a good point there. Just that, be ready for not a solidified lineup for every single night. Depending on who you're playing, depending if there's back-to-backs, there not just with goalies, because I know everybody's talked about goalies and how rigorous that the schedule looks for the back-to-backs, and making sure that each player and each goalie is going to be rested properly. But don't be surprised if you see that for forwards and defense as well. One other thing I want to put out there is that Wayne Simmonds was talking about Alex Kerfoot and how he has a calming presence about him, the way that he commands the middle of the ice, and the way he plays a full 200-foot game. He's got really good scares, and he's really impressed me here. To me, that perks my ears up right away. I've not been overly impressed with Alex Kerfoot, but when a veteran player like Wayne Simmonds says something like that, that to me resonates throughout the entire lineup. So I'm happy to hear that from Wayne Simmonds, and that I feel like that's a notable quote to bring up here.
Well, the other thing I was just going to say, the one thing I was going to say also is it's going to depend, like when you have these 3 game series, you're going to want to adapt your lineup to adjustments because they're playoff series, right? Like these 3 to, like when you're playing these back-to-backs, you're going to want to, because if you're going to want to win these series, right? You're going to want to take 2 of 3, right? So you're going to adjust from game 1 to game 2. You may see adjustments in the lineup too. So in the case of the Leafs, you're right. You could have the Bogosian pairing, or you could have the Dermott Sandin pairing, depending on which. So that's the other thing that I think will be a factor as well.
Just depends on how big your actual roster is. I think the Leafs may be going with a 21. I think I've heard as small as that for them because of their cap situation, which would really limit their ability to do much, just depending on what their taxi squad looks like. That's why having waivers exempt players on your taxi squad and whoever your other person is could really benefit, because then you don't have to go through the rigmarole of the waiver side. But with Flames and Canucks, I think they're both going to be 22, 23-man rosters, and they'll be able to swap players out pretty easily, depending on what their taxi squads look like.
Let's leave it there. I think we've covered a lot today. Good talk, everyone. Good talk. Good meowing from the cat. Hey, you kept your composure, which is
I tried my best. God, yep.
We've got lots coming up. We will be recapping tomorrow's goal after the game, Canada versus whoever, US or Finland. We'll be talking about that. That will be a lot of fun. Then Wednesday, we are going to do the first of our Northern Canadian team division previews. We are going to have the Sens Hour podcast. Derek and Shane joining us. So we're going to be chatting with them about what is going on in Ottawa. We are going to be debating Thomas Chabot versus Quinn Hughes. I'm actually going to be sending them a clip of your 2 arguments. So
beautiful. Good.
How Devin keeps skewing me, saying I'm like that.
I'm not skewing shit, dude. You said you have said that Quinn Hughes is better than Thomas Chabot,
and they're great. They're side by side, the 2 best.
They're not side by. If they're side by side, then there's no winner. Stop it.
Then you've literally said that I've said that Hughes is way better than Chabot, and I haven't. I've said that they're very
better.
close.
I said that you have thought that Hughes has been better than Chabot. And that is bullshit.
So that fight will continue on Wednesday.
God.
We will then on Saturday have the scheduled to have the Fireside podcast join us. We'll do the deep dive into the Flames. Then Sunday, Stefan Roger.
Not Robida.
Stefan Robida.
We're not going to Robida Island.
Not or Nate Schmidt, not them, but Stefan Roger will be joining us, and we'll be doing a deep dive into the Canucks. Thursday, Joel Turtle will be joining. Producer 650 will be joining us to talk about the Montreal Canadiens, and then we're working on the other 2. That's all I'll say. But Sean and Devin are going to be taking their yelling challenge on the road. They are going to be on the Oilers YYC podcast on Wednesday, where Graham and those guys are going to have to contain them in some way, shape, or form. I don't know how they're going to do that.
I've been on there before, been yelling at them before, so they know what to expect with me, and I'm sure they expect everything and more, knowing that Devin's coming on too.
I have nothing but good things to say about Graham. You're fucking beauty. I love you, dude.
Yeah, we all love Graham.
That's not what I hear from you. That's fine.
Hey, I like Graham. I don't like his team.
Final comment here from Sean. Carl, podcast MVP.
Thanks for watching all day, Sean. I appreciate it, man.
All right.
Hold on. We also will have Graham on this podcast.
Yes, Graham from Oilers YYC will join us.
He will join us on the 12th. So when we'll get to see what all the craziness with cuts and waivers and everything, and we'll get to do a deep dive on the Oilers as well as talk about all that, and then see he'll be able to let us know how we did on their podcast as well. So, and then the hockey season starts
on the 13th.
Yeah,
that's a Wednesday, everybody. Surprisingly enough, every time that there's a start to the season, start of the playoffs, whatever, it's always on a Wednesday.
Yeah,
always
Wednesday, the new Monday.
Yes.
How do we follow everyone?
I am Bearded Connect 03 on Twitter.
I'm the better homesmith at Gordhouse09.
Schneid's SCHNEIDZ. Hi to Mazeballs, who she also lurked in the background as well. Tyler T Noble TNOBLE. I am KVOLE. Spreaker.com, the hockey podcast. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Podcast_hockey. Facebook, if you're watching live there. YouTube, if you're watching live there, and etc. Thanks, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of your night. We will talk to you real soon. Bye for now.